In a sea of theories, every so often when Final Fantasy XIV decides to dip its toes into a new shard of the source, immediately conspiracy theories start sprouting up. Is Zero the Warrior of Light shard from the 13th? Is it instead the original Golbez? What about Kuholin? Wouldn't that be fucking funny? And while every theory has merit, a lot of them are just shots in the dark. Except for the original Golbez. Without Encyclopedia USA 3 dropping the "shouldn't Reaper's avatars just be their 13th counterpart" question, I'd say that one is all but confirmed with how the game doesn't show Golbez out of their armor, gave them a voice, and every flashback was from their POV, with the Warrior of Light in specific taking up the role of Golbez in the Lunar Subterrane Dungeon, plus with Durante heavily being implied to be a Xeno shard, and with Zero's focus on friendship in the patch content, I'd say it's pretty obvious that Golbez and Durante were meant to be a look at what if you met Xenos under different circumstances. I miss you, Umfi. Rest in peace. But that's not what this video is about. No, I have some sort of conspiracy theory with just enough credit that it might be real, because among every appearance of Azem, the Warrior of Light, and their shards, or even imposters to the seats, there has been one singular thread connecting them all. It's not appearance, it's not magic, it's not even jobs. No, the single red line on my conspiracy board: Jason Charles Miller. A real quick rundown of Jason Miller: man's a vocal genius, known for banger hits like Rules of Nature in 2013's Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which by the way isn't a real word, did you guys know that? And various tracks in Cyberpunk 2077. More relevant, however, is that Jason Miller was once the voice for Raubon in A Realm Reborn, and more importantly, he's the main vocalist for the songs Shadowbringers, or Who Brings Shadow depending on the variant, To the Edge, Close in a Distance, and as after writing this script has been confirmed to be him in the newly released Unleashed from Arcadion at number 8. Dropping in 2019, Shadowbringers is the main theme of Shadowbringers. While the lyrics are always up for interpretation, the most easy interpretation is that it's sung from the perspective of 3 characters: Heidelin, or Venat, for Amanda's vocals, as these are taken from Tomorrow and Tomorrow Anyway; Artbird as a stand-in for the first, with a majority of the lyrics talking directly about the state of their world, the Sin Eaters, even the Asians, and all that fun stuff. The third character is the Warrior of Light. While this remains up to interpretation, the parts of the song that are whispered can very easily be interpreted to be the Warrior of Light, in specific lines like obviously alluding to the survivors of the 8th Calamity who worked together to make Shadowbringers happen and for a world where the Warrior of Light survived. The constant repeating of "one brings shadow, one brings light," implying to be from somebody with knowledge of Zodiark and Heidelin. Another line that fits perfectly with the Warrior of Light. As the player character, they don't really want anything in specific, and instead of being granted that nothing, they're roped into another world-ending threat. This is simple: the Warrior of Light taking up the mantle of Warrior of Darkness, still a hero, but now under a different title. Of course, you can also read that as how Emmett Selk sees himself, but that's the fun in the lyrics, no? And also, that doesn't justify my theory, so we're gonna ignore that. In another case of just trust me bro, there was an old interview back in 2019 where Yoshida revealed that the song was written from the perspective of the Warrior of Light. Sadly, I can't find that, because why in the world would I save interviews for stuff like this? I'm an idiot. One song that did get confirmed whose perspective it's from is Endwalker's Close in the Distance, which in a concert in Yokohama was confirmed to be sung from the perspective of Artbird. But, you might say, To the Edge isn't about the Warrior of Light or Artbird. It's about Elidibus and the Ancients. Its lyrics are about Elidibus and his feelings on the final days. And you're right! But there's a little caveat to that one. See, there's something fun about the devs making the Warrior of Light a historical figure, and in this case, alluded to being you in another life. Now, Elidibus obviously takes up the Mr. Final Fantasy look from Final Fantasy I, which earlier in the story was used as the basis for the legacy of the Warrior of Light on the first. But there's two things to that. Ignoring that he's currently inhabiting the dead body of your alternate self, Prior to his transformation, we see a few flashbacks, and in one of them, Elidibus specifically reaches out for a faceless person who wears the Warrior of Light armor you can get from Labyrinth of the Ancients, while referring to somebody who got sundered.
Sundered though you may be, you fought for the world's salvation. For hope. Hope.
And right before his transformation, he very dramatically makes the Souls of Light ascend into the sky and conveniently make the shape of the alchemic symbol for the sun. Something we learned that very patch was related to Azem, and therefore your character. So, with that preamble out of the way, Dawntrail patch 7.2 gave us a brand new Jason middle track, capping off this new tier of Arcadion against Howling Blade, the middleweight champion of Arcadion. Howling Blade, or Retzera's entire gimmick is feeling like he's stuck in a cage. His song is called Unleashed. The lyrics all relate to that, and he even directly calls this out in a dialogue choice when asking what your purpose in life is, pointing out that he's not even able to imagine a life of exploration, and another dialogue choice admitting that he feels most alive when fighting strong opponents. So without official lyrics, there's still a good chunk of lines we can barely hear in typical 14 fashion via their patented, just overlay the shit out of it and make it sound like syllables, alongside some hearable lyrics. Obviously, there's more, but for now, those are the lyrics easiest to make out and are relevant. So, obviously, from the lyrics and the previously mentioned dialogue, Retzera is somebody who longs to be free from his lot in life. A place where he can be free. Something which the Warrior of Light embodies. An adventurer who chooses to do what they want. Ignoring the Warrior of Light title, your player character is an adrenaline junkie and do-gooder that goes around helping people and goes in search of brand new challenges and new lands to explore. Retzera was born in a literal dome and never got the chance to be the Azem he could, instead being willing to lay his life down in his cage, knowing that this was the only way to repay the President for the life he's given him and Hector, the Brute Bomber. And that's why I think Retzera is supposed to be the Azem of the Ninth. Somebody who's not relevant to the MSQ and is allowed to be his own person without people immediately jumping on, yo, can we rejoin with him? Because apparently taking away agency from people just because they share a soul is a good thing? I'll look at an Azem who never got to sprout their wings and explore the world, gaining that lust of adventure, being forced into a cage and becoming a fighter that would eventually be destroyed by the very thing his livelihood depends on, all for the sake of the entertainment of a bunch of people unaware that he's dying, and they're all stuck in that city. And honestly, that's kind of it. That's the basis for the theory. Just some musical connections that might not even be there. But hey, I've been with the 14 Sound Team long enough to know that they love giving music a story and connective tissue that is more than just surface level stuff. Looking at Alexander. Of course, you then realize that the chances of the 9th Azem being an Everkeep when it got joined to the source were pretty fucking slim, even with the supposed current state of the 9th. And then them also being reincarnated in a body in Everkeep, despite the fact they should have logically been tied to the source's ethereal sea the moment everybody got brought to the source and could have reincarnated anywhere in the world, would be very unlikely. Huh. Maybe this theory isn't as good as I thought it was.